What's going on, guys? So I interviewed somebody that I've worked with before, and he has 11 different sync licenses over the past few years. He's going to teach you today how you can get into sync licensing and all of the things that he's run into along the way so that he can help you guys and share a lot of gems with the community. So stay tuned.
I appreciate all the support. If you guys would like and comment and subscribe to the channel, then we'll get into the video.
All right, bet. Well, Big A. So I just want to give you a quick introduction before we get started. So you have about 11 different, I think I'll just call it TV and movie sync placements. So really excited to have you on, man, and have you share some knowledge, because I feel like this path is not really taken by a lot of producers. They think, music industry, I'm going to get a song with Drake, and then like that's their whole game plan. But yeah, really excited to have you come on and share some gems with us. So I guess my first question is like give us a little background in that. What made you think getting into sync licensing and like coming from music and like getting into beats and stuff?
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I never really intended on getting into sync licensing. I'm just like probably most producers. You trying to get a placement with Drake or Bryson Tiller, whatever. And I just happened to be part of this philanthropist group here in Arizona. And a guy that I met there, he was a rapper and he knew I was making beats. And he asked me to send him some beats. And I knew he wasn't, going to jump on him or anything, because he had been a rapper many years prior to me meeting him. But he had some people that he knew that he would, like to send my beats to or whatever. So I met him, and some time went by. I never even followed up with him about the beats or anything. And then one day I just happened to ask. I said, "Hey, man, what'd you think about the beats?" And he's like, "Oh, man, them joints was hot." He's like, "I do know some people that work for BET. Maybe you can, pitch them your music or whatnot." So he ended up giving me the contact over there and set up a meeting with the young lady he introduced me to. I spoke with her, and she actually works on the show Unsung, which is one of my favorite shows to watch. And we had a really good conversation, and she said, "Hey, well, I can actually put you in touch with another person who will help you get your music placed." And I said, "Okay, cool." And again, at that time, I really wasn't, I guess my intent was still not to get music into television, but I thought it's another avenue, to try out. So I had, really no expectations at all. And I was still new to making beats, and I didn't think my beats were really that good.
Got you.
I had too much production going on and whatnot, but I said, "Hey, what the hell? I'll just, try it out." So anyway,
Right.
she set me up with another contact. I spoke with them, and he set up I think 2 meetings I had with him, and sent him some samples of my work. He liked them, and I was like, "Wow!" Even with all the hi-hat rolls and all that, So he said he liked them, and from that point, he gave me my first assignment. So,
Wow.
been doing it ever since, and this was in 2020.
Wow. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. So
Yeah.
so in 2 years, 11 TV placements. So that's something, because a lot of people, they might be producing for 5-6 years and not have anything to show for it, but they've had a lot of promise. They've gotten to a lot of different network situations where there's been promises made, but nothing ever like comes of it. So that's really dope to see. And
Yeah.
so this is something I saw in one of the videos breaking down how you got your first TV placement. You said that the beat that you got the placement off of was a beat that had been sitting on your hard drive for 2 years. So
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been producing for, it'll be 7 years. So I just had a whole bunch of stuff on my hard drive. I started going through it, and when he actually asked me to send him some beats, and I think it was it might have been some aggressive trap or melodic trap, something. I made them, and that just happened to be one of the first beats placed. Something I did, a couple years prior to even meeting them. So it pays to keep those beats on your hard drive, and you just never know.
Yeah, and I think that's encouraging to producers too, because a lot of people, a lot of producers, want to repurpose their beats, and they're like, man, like I never got an artist on this one, or I never got this one placed. So I think that's cool that, I don't think Sync really cares about that, versus like, oh, this is 2 years old, it must be, dated or whatever. Like it seems like there's a place for everything.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. As much music as I've sent, I've never had them say, this kind of sounds a little dated. I think as long as you are hitting the nail on what they're asking for, then you're good. And he sends me, reference tracks, and, you can even go on to YouTube and type in, melodic trap or dark trap or whatever. And, just, you have that template right there for you. So
for sure. Yeah. And I think like, that's going to be one of my questions is like, what are they looking for? But whenever I was introducing you, I forgot to give a rundown of your placements. So for those watching, you have placements with you have multiple ones on Tyler Perry's show Sisters, and you also have one, I think one, maybe two on Growing Up Hip Hop, and and on VH1's My True Crime Story as well. So or do you have three on Love on Hip Hop?
I think it's two on Love and Hip Hop, and then I have the My Crime Story on VH1, and then there's one on Tyler Perry's Bruh, series called Bruh. Yep.
Man, that's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
So like when you're submitting your music to the music libraries to send out for sync placements, what are some of the requirements that you think like the average producer would not be aware of that they kind of want you to fall in line with?
Ooh, here's the thing. They will send me basically an email that says, hey, can you make us a volume of dark melodic trap? Or they'll say, can you make, aggressive trap drama? The thing is that there's really no, at least in my experience, there's no cookie cutter way to do it. It's really what you hear, right? Because you and I could be sitting there watching a movie, and when you hear that music come in, somebody's about to get killed. There's certain elements that you'll hear, and it'll resonate with you like, oh man, that gives me a chill feeling or a dark feeling or something like that. So when they do send me a request of what it is that they're looking for, I understand it. But when I'm making the music, it really comes down to what I feel is dramatic. What do I feel is emotional? What do I feel is happy? Those kind of things.
For sure. No, that makes perfect sense too. And so there's a lot of creative boundaries, or there's less boundaries than you would think as far as like around the creative side.
Yeah, in my experience, yes.
Okay,
yes.
Gotcha. Yeah,
I'm blessed to be in that position, because I do know some people who, they give you something and it's gotta nail it or sounds like this.
Exactly.
And that's tough. That's really tough.
For sure. Yeah, I feel like that's difficult when I have producers or artists hit me up and they're like looking for something specific, and you're like, man, like now I feel kind of constricted, like and being a producer I feel like is being an artist in a sense, like you're coming up with artistic ideas and putting that into a format. But whenever somebody puts too many restrictions on you, I feel like that can kind of stifle the creative side.
Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. Because in my experience, I've had to submit. I have to submit 10 tracks. So when they ask for a volume, it's 10 tracks, and I try to space out my time as to when I'm gonna come up with at least a melody, when am I gonna structure it, when am I gonna mix it. It does get a little monotonous because you're hearing the same type of music. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I can definitely tell you the first time I did it, I was getting a little upset with myself, because here I am on track number 6, and it sounds like track number 5, track number 4, track number 3. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, wow, this is just, I don't know if I'm gonna make it with this, but I learned to space it out so my brain is not just stuck in that that zone of making that specific style of music for a couple of hours a day. So
Most definitely. And like in the video you were showing, like breaking down how you got your first placement, you were saying like when they sent it to you and you're like, yeah, we got a place, and you're kind of running it back, and you didn't, like, at first you didn't know, and that's, in my experience, that's the same thing. People send me like, oh, we got a placement, and it's got like my guitar in it or something, and I'm like, honestly, I don't even remember making that. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, man, because I was in the bed, and I don't know, it's probably about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and I had seen my my guy's text, or not text, but message in Facebook, and I didn't open it to read it. And then later on that night, got in the bed and I'm watching TV, me and my wife just sitting up, and I looked at the message and I was like, I just got a placement, Tyler Perry. She's like, no way. I was like, yeah. And so the next day, actually, he sent me a little clip too. So I played the clip. I was listening to it on my phone. I was like, I do not remember this at all. And so I had to go back into my sessions and find it. And I was like, oh, okay, this one that I made 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was funny.
It's got to be a crazy feeling though, for sure.
It is, man. It is. I mean, because you put in all that work, and at least in my experience, and I'm sure a lot of people out there, all you really want is somebody's help, somebody's guidance that's already been there, done that, and you don't get it. So you just out there on your own, just trying to figure it out.
Right.
And I knew it would happen. I just didn't know when. And it's so funny because when he actually sent me that text, I had already had a placement in 2021, but I thought that the 2021 placement was my first. So I'm out here like, yeah, I just got my first placement. And it was a placement that I got in 2020 that was actually my first. He just sent it late.
That's crazy though. That's crazy.
Right. But again, you just do all this work, and you're trying to improve on your craft, and you want placements, whether it's with artists or whether it's in television, movies, and nothing is happening. And then you start talking negatively to yourself like, man, maybe I'm not good enough, blah, 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 blah. But trust me, you're good enough. Trust me, it'll happen as long as you just keep working at it, sending them out. It'll happen.
Yeah, and I think that's the mindset that a lot of people need to be more aware of, and that's a conversation we need to have more, because a lot of people expect things to be automatic. They're like, oh, I got a relationship with so-and-so's engineer, or, with Sync, I got a relationship with this library, this person who's in film, so now the placements are just going to come automatically. All I got to do is send like 2 beats through, and both of them are going to get placed, on big things. So, but in my experience too, like, I have gotten discouraged, by probably sending out like 100 different, samples, to different producers, and not getting anything back. And you're like, man, like maybe this doesn't work anymore or something like that.
Yeah,
but that mindset of pushing through is essential for sure.
So, well, that brings the question that I have for you. In those moments, what do you do when you are frustrated and you just like, man, maybe this isn't working? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it just comes to realizing that whenever you get a placement, you start thinking about the cause and the effect the wrong way. And so you think that that's going to build up some kind of momentum for you, even though you feel good about that placement, that's an effect, it's not a cause. And so you have to realize that you put in a lot of, endless hours, to get that placement. So make sure you just go back to the drawing board, you put in some more work, put out some more material, and then that is going to, over time, result in another placement. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And, I guess once you get in, at least from my perspective, being in, I have somebody that I can submit my music to. I'm not, I don't have any expectations, put it to you that way. And it may sound odd to hear that, but I really don't, because all I can do is come up with what I come up with based on what it is that they want. And it's up to their vendors to go to the website, listen, and pick.
Right.
It's out of my control. So that's why, I don't put a lot of thought into that. I just make the beats, I send them, and I keep moving.
For sure. I think that's a good approach to it too. Like, only focus on what you can control. And like, I feel like that's a question I have for you is like, when it comes to getting sync placements, like how much volume do you think like you're sending out? Like if you were to count and say like, I probably submitted X amount of instrumentals before I got X amount of placements, like what would you say that volume is?
Wow. To be honest, I don't know that I have a number for you. I can tell you this. When I first started making beats, I wasn't sending out anything because I was just trying to learn how to make beats. I'm not professionally trained with any instrument or anything. So I got to give a shout out to Busyworks Beats. I got to give a shout out to Internet Money. I got to give a shout out to Lifestyle Did It. I was just watching their tutorials every single day and just trying to figure it out, how to come up with chords and stuff like that. So when I, came to the realization that, okay, my beats are decent, they're decent, I probably, and I'm just throwing this out there, I probably sent out no more than 20 beats. No more than 20, because I'm a Virgo, and I think just naturally I'm a perfectionist, even though there's no such thing as perfection. Right?
Yes.
So I criticize my work to like the nth degree, and I just never felt like it's really, really good enough to be on somebody's album. I can play it back and just be like, man, I spent all this time mixing and it came out like beep, so.
Right, yeah.
I didn't send out very many. I did have some artists that, liked some of the beats that I did have, and hey, free beat, here you go. They never jumped on them. So I'm like, okay, this is how the game works. You send them free beats and they don't do anything.
Yeah.
They don't do anything with it. Okay. Well, that's one way, to get your music out there. But then fast forward after maybe a year and a half of just making beats and putting them on a hard drive and not liking them, and meeting the guy that I met, and then going from that to getting them into TV. I mean, a lot of work, and a lot of that's not good, I'll just save it and move on. A lot of that, so I can't say that I sent out a lot of beats to anybody before I got placements in TV.
For sure. Yeah, but I think that's important. And like you mentioned, those three guys, Lifestyle Did, Busyworks Beats, and Internet Money, their whole team. Like those are the people I learned how to make beats from, and like how to sell beats from. It's crazy that you mentioned those guys because they were all over the internet at that point in time.
Yeah. But, every day, man, every day. And here's the thing. Because whoever your listeners are, your audience, I'm sure they can resonate with this. Typically, when somebody says that they work on something every day, I tend not to believe them, because it's like, what about that one day? Like that one day you had to go to church and you couldn't make a beat or you couldn't shoot a basket. I'm sure that was in there. So I can honestly say that I was working on beats in my first year every single day, because I took my laptop to work with me every single day. And on my lunch break, people knew when I was in the break room, had my headphones on, he must be making beats every single day. After about a year, it wasn't every single day. It was almost every single day. But, as you got better, I found out I didn't have to spend as much time trying to figure stuff out, because there were things that I figured out, I finally got it. So now I don't have to do it every day. I do it when I feel like it.
For sure. Yeah, and I think that says something, about you too, is like the kind of consistency that you need to actually get to where you're perfected a skill is, it really is, it's not nearly as much about the time as it is about over a course of time if you're actually staying dedicated to it. And And that's something that I personally have struggled with is like, going and staying with something every day and then falling off, for a few weeks, and so it's like, I feel like that's something that a lot of people are probably struggling with, and they're like, well, I'm not seeing results. I don't have placements, whatever. They're not working with artists, but it's like, are you actually showing up and putting in the time to perfect, your craft?
Right. Because I literally, I was learning something every day, whether I was watching Internet Money or Busyworks Beat or Lifestyle Did It, because I'm not professionally trained. So there was so much for me to learn. And I don't know how many times I went back and watched a video on, compression, or, linking up the 808 to the kick, and
Like side chaining.
side chaining. Yeah. I mean, all foreign to me, but the way he talked about it, at least Busyworks Beat, the way he talked about it, it gave me reason to want to watch and learn and take something from, his videos. So
You feel like that's a problem that producers are having today, is they don't want to spend as much time learning as they want to creating, and maybe that's like leading to some frustration down the road. Like at first, they're able to be creative, but once they hit the box, the limits of that situation, that they become frustrated and end up quitting or something like that.
oh yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that's happened with plenty of producers. I think that, again, I'm probably much older than most of the producers that I know. And my mindset is probably a little bit different than theirs. What does music mean to you as a producer? To me, it means something different than what it might mean to you, or to, whoever is, to those that are in your audience, right? And so I probably missed several opportunities of getting into music, but at this particular age, I was intentional about what I wanted to do. I want to make music. I want it to be heard. I want it to be on TV. I want it to get into the hands of the artists that I really, really like. And, for others, it might just mean money. Oh, I saw this video. This dude was making a beat in his bedroom. He sent it off, and now he's got placements, and he's one of the most, notable producers. Listen, there's a thing called luck, right? And I think a lot of us have been lucky in certain situations on certain things. But I don't know any producers. I don't know them personally who actually made beats out their bedroom, out their mama's basement, sent it off, and got placements. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. And so I can't lean on those odds. I have to find ways to increase my odds. So the way that I increase my odds are sending off beats. The other way I increase my odds are excuse me, working with somebody who can get them into television, networking with other producers. Right now, I'm experiencing something that I've never experienced in this entire almost 7 years of producing, where producers are sending me loops. That's never happened. There's some producers out there that I really like their sound. I grabbed one of their packs. It was free. I sent them a couple of beats that I made from them. Next thing you know, email just, they sending me loops. And I was just like, what happened here?
Yeah.
This has never happened to me. So, perhaps the networking with them will help me get to, getting placement with artists, because they have placement with artists. They may not be, well known, but the artists are serious enough to be putting out an album.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I feel like the networking thing is so underrated. Like, well, my screen cut out for a second, so we're jumping right back into the interview. So I think what I was talking about was networking, and the thing with networking is that you have to always stay networking with people in order to grow your business. And what you're talking about is increasing your odds. And so your network increases your odds of getting placements, period. Like, I know I like to keep my list small of like people I send to, and just go quality over quantity. because I know some people they have their weekly, loops they send out, and they will send it to anybody, and probably their mom and their grandma too. So, like, but it's like, what kind of quality are you actually sending out, and what kind of relationship do you have with those people? Like, if you have a deep relationship with a few people who are all making moves, like, you have so much more higher probability, of something happening than if you're just sending out to whoever and you're just spamming their inbox and you've never even actually like messaged that person.
Right, right. And I talked about that, or I made a post about that on my story, where Lamont Graves, who I'm sure you know of him or seen him.
For sure.
He gave me a shout out on his Instagram, and I've been with him for a couple of years, utilizing his services. But after I got that shout out, people just start hitting my DM, and I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. My followers went up. That's cool. But then I go check my email, and I'm just getting emails of samples. There's nothing there, Kobe. Just the file. That's it. And I was like, okay, I don't even know who you are, number one. Number two, I don't know who you are. So I can't do that. So I haven't downloaded any of their loops. And I'm like you, I keep my network pretty small because the relationship, like you mentioned, is so important. The rapport that you build with them is so important. And the people that I'm networking with, they've worked with Bryson Tiller. All I'm doing is waiting on my turn. So, hey, I send them beats. I have no expectations. If it happens, if it happens, it happened because it was supposed to happen. What else can I do besides send them the music? Or if I'm in the circle, like I'm in those studios with them, what more can I do?
Exactly.
Yeah. I guess I can come up with some gimmicks on Instagram to, get the views, and maybe somebody will share it with Bryson. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I spend my time doing things differently than, some other folks that are just trying to, get numbers up and get attention and all that. I think, like you said, the relationships are important. So, hey, I'm behind the scenes, chopping it up with them, sending them stuff, getting feedback on stuff, and they'll give me the green light when it's time.
Exactly. And I think that's important, is like knowing what you want to do with music, because a lot of people are easily swayed by all these influencers online, whether they're music producers or whoever. A lot of people are like, now you need to jump on TikTok right now before it goes out. And by the way, you need to make like 3 NFTs at the same time. Like,
Right.
so that path is for some people. Like, some people are really taking off with it. But like, for the most part, everybody is going to have a specific lane they need to, stick to and grow, and realize that not everything is for them. And so, like, I've seen some people who are, one guy I don't have a relationship with anymore as far as like with music, but he actually would just stay behind the scenes and really just what he did is he just owned a network of producers basically. So he would just send out samples from other people to a network, and that's all he did to get placement. So he was basically, the kind of DJ Khaled, of on a smaller level, but
Yeah.
that is production in a sense, like networking the right people together to make something great.
Yeah, and it's definitely not to knock anybody's hustle, because, like you said, everybody's got their lane. I just don't have the personality to be out there on Instagram and doing things to get attention. And maybe that's to a fault, maybe. But I think with the people that I do have, somewhat of a relationship with, that are in the spaces that I want to be in, all I can do is just be me, and they like me for who I am so far. So I'm not about to get out there and get TikTok going in an NFT and 5 posts every other day or whatever the algorithm count is. I that's just not me. But if it's working for others, hey, keep doing it.
Right.
Keep
Yeah.
doing
Yeah. Everybody's got a different makeup for sure. But yeah, I wanted to move on to one thing I thought was super interesting about your placements is you have one beat in particular that apparently kept getting placed. At least twice. I'm not sure how many, but I thought that was interesting. So like, I guess that's kind of like the sauce that a lot of people share about sync licensing is being able to relicense a song over and over again. But is that just, did you have to resubmit that beat over and over again, or like tell me how that process went?
Yeah, I didn't have to resubmit anything over. The way that I'm seeing the process work is that when I make 10 beats, I have the full instrumental, then I take out the drum work and I just have the melody, and then I take out the melody and all I have is the drum work. So there's 3 opportunities right there. And what I found is that, and I think the track that's been placed more than once, if I'm not mistaken, actually is the full instrumental, not in its entirety, but you hear the melody, you hear the drum work. Whereas in other placements, you might just hear the melody, or you might just hear, the drum work, you know. So I didn't have to resubmit anything. It's there for the vendors to select. Oh, we like the full instrumental with everything going, or nah, this melody is dope. We just need the melody for this particular part, you know. So it's nice to have, you know, it's nice to have.
That's dope because and it might just keep getting placed. People keep coming back to that library whenever they need it.
Right.
So, and I think let's jump into like a little bit more of the technical side of sync licensing and creating these beats. So, when I was studying it, they talk about stings, like they talk about stings all the time, and like how important it is to have these built into your beats. And so, can you explain what a sting is and why it's important to getting into sync licensing?
Okay. So the sting is the loud crash at the end. So whether it's a crash or whether it's some strings, it's that hit, right? And the reason why it's so important is because if they are using it for a certain scene and it's transitioning, just like we make music and we want a sound or an element of sound to transition to the bridge or transition to the verse, is just as important with a sting in music. So if they're transitioning from one scene to another scene, they got that sting at the end, boom. Now somebody's talking. Now the dialogue comes in. So that's why that's important. And the sting, for me, my stings, here's some sauce for y'all. My sting comes from Expand 2. If you use Expand 2 VST in the
plugin.
It is. It really is. It's so underrated. I love it more than Omnisphere, to be honest. But I believe it's string hit. I think it's in there. I think they have a section that says orchestral, or it might just be in the strings, but it says string hit. And I use that for my sting every time.
Got you.
Every
Got
time.
you. So, yeah, so it doesn't even have to be that complicated. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Not at all. So it hits at the same time my kick, and if I have an 808, which most of the time I do, so my kick, my 808, and that string sting is, that's it.
So yeah, man, you got me wanting to get into sync licensing tomorrow. So I'm gonna start cooking some up. But so how important is having like a balanced mix to getting placements? Like when you send these off to, does anyone ever contact you and be like, oh, you need to adjust the balance of the mix or anything like that?
You know what? When I first sent beats out to the library, they did tell me to adjust, some things, take this out, or this might be too loud or whatever. I think that might have happened like 3 times the first time I did it. And I understood why, because, the mix is important. You obviously don't want, certain sounds too high, or you can't hear them or whatnot. But when they take in that music and they listen to it, they know what they're listening for. You know what I mean? So if they like the beat, that's half the battle. the other thing is whatever elements you're using, can they hear them? Are they loud enough? Are they quiet enough? Are they just right? What is it? They know, and they'll let me know. But ever since, I think it was the first two opportunities I had. Ever since then, they haven't come back and say, "Hey, can you change this? Can you change that?" Just all good.
Got you. Got you.
Good.
Okay, so not too much, but it's usually the elements in the beat that you're using, and they know like if it's gonna work for what they're shopping the beats for.
Correct. Correct.
So
Yep.
are all your placements, are these all off of trap beats, or are there any other genres you've created that have gotten placed?
That's pretty much it. Is trap. So like I said, there was some emotional trap that I did. There was some tension trap that I did. That one, honestly, I didn't like it too much just because of the mood. I like to think that I'm a happy kind of person. So I like happy sounds or something that just makes you feel a certain kind of happiness or whatever. So when I was doing that tension trap, I was just like, oh my God. I mean, it does dictate the mood, man. I had to do it. I did it and it turned out good. I liked the final product, but it's just that, when you're making that kind of music and you're kind of stuck in that mood, it's just like, let me hurry up and get these done and get on to something else, you know?
I got you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know I've had somebody, I was doing a custom beat for somebody and they tried to have me make like an 80s beat mixed with like trap and throw in like
Uh-huh.
another genre. I was like, I don't even know what I'm on right now, but I kind of know what you're talking about. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So,
Yeah.
so like all of your placements, these are all coming from one relationship that you have. So, I feel like in one of our previous conversations, this could have been with somebody else who's in sync, but were you talking about branching out and trying to like find another sync library or music library that you could submit to as well?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that I want to do. Being that I work full time for a financial institution, my time is really limited, So I almost feel like, okay, if I do seek other libraries, it's gonna it's gonna make me have to put in more time, you know. And honestly, I don't know that I have the time right now. Things are just working how they're supposed to work. I put in my 40 hours a week at a corporate job, and when they send me, an email of hey, can you make 10 beats of this? I plan it out, and it works for me. Anything else on my plate for libraries, I think would just be too time consuming right now. But I'm always open for a collab. So just like when you and I collabed on something, I was
Right.
open for it. I had the time. So yes, I could do that. And other people that are sending me loops, I can make the time to do that because I feel like I'm not under any kind of real timeline, you know.
Right.
So
Yeah.
not that I took all day to, get people back, their music, but with the library, you are under a time constraint. So I wouldn't want to sign up for something where they say, well, can you make us 5 in 3 days?
Yeah.
You know, I,
It's too much.
I, yeah, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Right. And
So
well, I feel like a lot of people too. Let's talk a little bit about time management because I feel like a lot of producers use the excuse of like, oh, I'm working a full time job, so I don't have time to work on music. Outside of that, I have too many other things going on. So you already gave one tip on time management. Bring your laptop to work. Cook
mhm,
up on your lunch break. Do you have
yeah.
any other tips for producers that you would give out on time management?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody pretty much has one of these, a phone, you got a calendar on it. Just say, hey, I'm gonna make a beat on one day a week. Just put it in there, and obviously, turn on the notification. That way, you see it. You wrote it down. Number one, so that was your action. You wrote it down. Two, you got the notification. You saw it. So now that you wrote it down, you saw it. What are you gonna do about it? Are you gonna commit to yourself to go ahead and sit down and make a beat? And so I think with time management, after a while, it just kind of becomes like you putting on your pants or putting on a shirt every day. It just becomes natural. So, like I said, earlier when I was taking my laptop to work every day, I was so uh, zeroed in on that. Like I didn't really care how good of a job I did at work. When I was when I got my hour lunch, I was just intentional. Like, hey, I just I used to watch Busy Works Beats and Internet Money on my phone at work while working. I got
Yeah.
my earbuds in, so I knew the job, right? So I could do the job with my eyes closed. But I'm listening to them, I'm watching it. Lunchtime, now I can go apply what I just learned. Then when I got home, that's another thing. I started applying what I learned again once I got home. So I'm making them at work, I'm making them at home, and yes, time management is critical. It's so critical.
I
Yeah.
feel like that reminds me a lot of my journey as well. Like when I was working my full time job, that's something that I did a lot. On my lunch break, I only lived 10 minutes away from work, so I would drive back to my house and make my sandwich or whatever, and
Uh-huh.
just like cook up while I was on lunch break and then go back 30 minutes later. But
Yeah.
while I was at work, I drove a truck, so I did a lot of deliveries. It was a big box truck, and whenever I was like on my way somewhere where it took me a little longer than others, I would turn on a tutorial, and just listen to it. So I
Yeah.
definitely understand what you're saying about, like, I feel like you just get addicted to it when you love it, and like you get
Yes.
addicted to learning and applying and all of those different things.
Yeah. And especially, for me, not having that professional training and seeing that, okay, I can take their lesson or take what they're teaching me and I can apply it and hear it come to life. I'm like, wow, okay, I just did that. And then once I kind of took the training wheels off and, I didn't have to watch their videos every day, I just start freestyling on my own. That's where I was able to say, okay, I'm this good, but I can be better. Let me go back and watch some more and then come back and rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense too.
Hmm.
And so I want to switch gears a little bit before I have a few more questions before we jump off. But
Okay.
one thing I have is, like, if somebody gets interested in sync licensing, obviously they can go and educate themselves on YouTube and really get at least a basic understanding of what's going on. But when it
Right.
gets to the next step and they have to like contact somebody in sync, like a music library or something, is that something that's as simple as doing a quick Google search, or is there more to it? Do they need to actually get in contact, with somebody, through LinkedIn or Instagram or something like that?
Right. I'm going to answer that and say yes. It's as easy as doing a Google search. Once you've done the Google search, once you found, God, there's so many libraries out there. Once you found one, right? The action that you are supposed to take is send them an email. How much easier can it be than that, right? Now, will they open your email? No one knows, but you did your part. You're not done with just sending that email. There's a thing called follow up. When you follow up with them, and here's a gem that's been working for me, not necessarily with the music, but with some other business stuff that I have going on. If you put follow up in the subject line, somebody's going to notice that, because how many other emails do you think have follow up in the subject line? So
Yeah.
they might be curious enough to click on it. Be like, oh man, somebody's following up. Let me click on it. And then it's you reintroducing yourself or following up on your initial email about, hey, I'm looking to get my music into, movies or TV. What are you guys looking for? So, it's that easy, but it's still something that you have to do. And it's a numbers game where if you only hit up two libraries, what about the next guy who just hit up 15? What about the guy who hit up 30? What are the odds? So that's why I always say increase your odds. Increase your odds by increasing your numbers.
Yep, that makes perfect sense too. There's somebody out there a lot hungrier than the next person, and before they get discouraged and say that it doesn't work, they have expanded the amount of potential opportunities that they have. And I think that that's an amazing gem too, with putting follow up in the subject line of an email. Even if they actually did miss your first email initially, they at least know that hey, this guy must have actually sent me another email. Let me check him out and see what's going on.
Exactly. And so and to keep it 100, I don't send out emails to libraries even before I got signed to this library that I'm with. I sent out a few emails, right? And I never got any response back except for one person. And that one person I actually found on Twitter.
Crazy.
So it's easy, but it's work. But it's the concept. Send an email, tell them who I am, ask them what kind of music they're looking for, and thank you and your name. That's easy.
It's just nobody's doing it.
Well, they're not doing it enough.
They're not doing it enough. Yeah.
They're not doing it enough. And like I said, that one email more than likely is being missed or not even being looked at. But if you put follow up in that subject line, you may have increased your odds there.
Yeah. I feel like another thing when it comes to getting placements, when it comes to networking, like we get so attached to like, I need this one person to respond to me, or I need to get a placement with this artist through this person. And when it doesn't happen, we get so crushed that we don't want to pursue any other future opportunities. Instead of being kind of like what you said, like not be attached to the outcome, just put it out there and, spread a wide net and then just see what happens. I feel like that's a better approach.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because again, we're the creatives. We make the music, we send it out, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing else you really can do. Because if somebody decides to go through their email, oh, I got a pack from Kobe, let me listen. You sent the email, you did your job. Now they're listening. Okay, did they like what they heard? If they did, then I'm assuming they get back to you, right?
Right.
If they didn't, you won't hear from them. And wouldn't it be nice, though, if somebody emailed you and said, hey, you know what, we got them, we just weren't feeling them. Yeah, that'd be nice, but it's not happening.
Exactly.
So don't have that expectation that people are going to let you know that they didn't like it. If they like it, they'll let you know.
For sure. Exactly. Yeah, they'll go out of their way to tell it to you.
Absolutely.
So I have one more question before we jump off the interview. This has really, been a lot of gems shared. So I think it's really valuable video for people to really watch all the way through. So this is going to be a lighter question, it's not technically related, but like what DAW do you use? And the second question is like, was it the first DAW that you actually figured out, or did you experiment with multiple ones before deciding on it?
Yeah, I use FL Studio. I've only used FL Studio. I did a collab with one of my partners here in Arizona, and he uses what's the name of that doggone one? It's not Reason.
Ableton.
It's not Ableton. There's another one.
There's Cubase too. A lot of people jump on it.
Maybe I forget the name of it, but it's popular. Other people are using it, and I did not like that thing.
Are you talking about Logic?
There you go.
Yeah.
I just didn't like it. I mean, I was trying. It looks easy, right? But when you're so used to doing certain things with the DAW of your choice, anything different is like, what is this? I can't stand this, But he hopped on FL Studio for the first time, and he actually liked it. He was thinking about switching. So yeah, FL Studio. That's my DAW of choice.
That's crazy though. I feel like on Logic, it has something to where basically you don't have the drum rack that you have on FL Studio, and you got to like click in, like pull in all the drums you want for the project from your actual like folder on your computer. I felt like I think that I don't know if they changed it. You know, I could be wrong too because I only spent a month trying to learn it before I went back
So
to
you
FL.
use what?
But I use FL Studio.
Okay.
That's what because in 2014 it was my freshman year in college, and I had a buddy of mine, and he's like, man, you need to get into making beats, like check this out. And I thought it was like a video game, and so I sit down, and he's like teaching me on this thing, and I kind of went away and did some other free ones,
Uh-huh.
but I came back to FL and purchased at least
Nice.
a license for it a little bit later.
Nice.
I really like it.
Yeah. I won't switch to anything, I guess, unless I get in the studio with some major producers and they're using something, I have to
Yeah.
conform. But other than that, FL, that's the one.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, like every DAW that I've seen that people are using a lot is super dope, but I feel like FL is super easy to get the hang of too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So but yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on to be interviewed and taking the time to do it. I feel like this is valuable information for anybody watching it, and keep me updated on everything, and we'll connect soon.
For sure. I appreciate it, man, and definitely we'll collab some more. We got a joint out there, so we'll do some more for sure.
Yes, sir.
All right.
man. Yeah.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right.
All right.
Take it easy, man.
You too, man.
If you want a one-on-one consultation with me, then check out the link below to set that up. And if you want to learn how I make a living selling beats online, then check out my beat selling guide below.